January 6th, 2024. A Saturday morning. Nothing about that day felt important. The alarm went off later than usual. Outside, the snow from the night before hadn't melted yet. Clean, untouched, like the world had hit pause. Everything felt quiet, safe, harmless. He shuffled into the kitchen, still half asleep, and started brewing coffee. The kind of morning where you don't really think about anything. Just go through the motions. Graduation was only a few months away now. Job interviews lined up, applications sent. Life felt like it was finally starting to take shape. Normal, predictable, under control. He sat down with his coffee and opened his laptop, scrolling through the usual stuff. News, social media, nothing urgent. Then he checked his email. One notification caught his eye. A bank logo. Subject line, Credit Report Alert. He hovered over it for a second. Almost closed it. People don't panic over emails like that. Not when they've done nothing wrong. Probably just some routine thing. A glitch. Spam, maybe. But something made him click. The page loaded slowly. Too slowly. His coffee cooled in his hand as he waited. Then the numbers appeared. 3 loans. All under his name. Total balance. $48,000. Status. Past due. He just stared, waiting for it to make sense. It didn't. He let out a quiet laugh. The kind you make when something's so wrong it can't possibly be real. This had to be a mistake. Some kind of system error. He only had one loan. His student loan. One. Controlled. Manageable. He'd been paying it off on time, every month, like clockwork. He refreshed the page. The numbers didn't change. He refreshed again. Still there. His chest tightened. Not panic yet, just confusion. That cold, creeping feeling when something doesn't add up and you don't know why. He opened another tab, logged into his bank account, checked his credit card, his student loan portal. Everything looked fine. Normal balances, no red flags. But that credit report, those 3 loans, they were still there. $48,000. Under his name. He whispered it out loud just to hear how it sounded. $48,000. It felt fake, like reading someone else's bill by mistake. But it wasn't someone else's. It was his name, his social security number, his birthday. He sat back in his chair, staring at the screen, the steam from his coffee rising and fading into nothing. That was the moment. The moment his future stopped feeling real. The memory came back slowly. Like something you forgot was even there until you trip over it. He was 18, fresh out of high school. That strange mix of excited and completely clueless about what came next. College paperwork was everywhere. Forms stacked on the kitchen table. Portals with login credentials scribbled on sticky notes. Passwords he'd reset 3 times because he kept forgetting them. His parents handled most of it. They were good at that stuff. Organized. On top of things. He was just trying to figure out his class schedule and what dorm he'd be in. Just sign where it tells you to, they said. We'll take care of the rest. So he did. It was an electronic signature, not even a real one. Just a checkbox. A name typed into a little box at the bottom of a screen. Click. Submit. Done. It took less than 5 seconds. Words like guarantor, co-signer, liability, they were just there, in the fine print, mixed in with all the other legal jargon no one actually reads. Why would they mean anything to him back then? He was 18. He trusted his parents. That's what you do. You assume they know what they're doing. You assume they're protecting you. Every semester, it was the same thing. More paperwork, more signatures, always that same reassurance from them. You don't need to worry about this. So he didn't. He signed. He moved on. He focused on midterms, part-time jobs, figuring out what he wanted to major in. Normal college stuff. What he didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that each signature was doing something. Quietly. Invisibly. Each one tied his future to someone else's promises, someone else's decisions, someone else's debt. He wasn't borrowing money. He wasn't making financial choices. But his name was there. His credit. His future. All linked. And the thing is, when you're 18, you don't think about that. You don't think about what a signature means 10 years down the line. You don't imagine a scenario where the people you trust most could ever put you at risk. Because why would you? But that's exactly what was happening. Every semester, every form, every time he typed his name into that little box and hit Submit, he was signing away pieces of his future without even realizing it. And now, 6 years later, sitting in his kitchen with cold coffee and a credit report that made no sense. Now he was starting to understand. Those 5-second signatures? They weren't small. They weren't nothing. They were everything. Over the years, money became a sensitive topic. Not all at once. It was gradual. The kind of thing you notice but don't really see until it's already been happening for a while. His parents started saying things were tight. Then, a few months later, they'd say things were getting better. Back and forth. Tight, then better. Better, then tight again. He was in college, focused on his own stuff, classes, friends, trying to figure out what he wanted to do with his life. He didn't think much about their finances. Why would he? They were adults. They handled things. But looking back now, he could see it. The small signs. Dinner conversations that got quieter when bills came up. His mom checking her phone more often, that worried look on her face. His dad saying, "We'll figure it out," a little too often. What he didn't know, what they never told him, was what was happening behind the scenes. Payments were being missed. Not all of them. Not at first. Just one here, one there. Easy to justify. Easy to say, "We'll catch up next month." But next month came, and there was another expense, another emergency, another reason to push it off just a little longer. Interest started accumulating, quietly, invisibly. Then came the late fees. Small at first, $20, $35, but they stacked, month after month, compounding on top of the interest that was already growing. The numbers kept climbing. And the banks? They didn't call him. Why would they? He wasn't the one managing the account. He wasn't the one who set up the automatic payments or listed the contact information. The emails went elsewhere, to his parents' inboxes. The letters, the warnings, the notices, the final demands, they went to their address. The house he hadn't lived in since he left for college. He never saw any of it. On paper, though? On paper, he was the borrower. His name, his social security number, his credit. The banks didn't care who was actually making the payments, or not making them. All they cared about was the name on the loan. And that name was his. By the time he discovered the truth, sitting in his kitchen that Saturday morning, staring at a credit report that made no sense, his credit score had already collapsed. Not dropped. Collapsed. From decent. Manageable. The kind of score that wouldn't raise any red flags. To this, a number so low it felt unreal. He didn't understand what that meant yet. Not fully, but he was about to. Because a bad credit score isn't just a number. It's a wall, a locked door, a no that follows you everywhere. He'd been applying for apartments, excited to finally live on his own after graduation. He'd found a place he liked, sent in his application, paid the fee. They rejected him. Credit issues, they said, politely. like it was nothing personal. He tried another place. Same thing, then another. Same result. He needed a car. His old one was dying. He went to a dealership. Test drove something reliable. Started talking financing. The guy came back from his office with that look. The one that says, "Sorry, but we can't approve you with this score. You'd need a cosigner." A cosigner. The irony wasn't lost on him. Then came the job offer. The one he'd been waiting for. A good company. Real benefits. The kind of position that felt like the start of something. They ran a background check. Standard procedure. It came back flagged. Not because of anything criminal. Not because of his work history or his references. Because of his credit. Financial responsibility concerns, the HR rep said over the phone. Apologetic, but firm. We've decided to move forward with another candidate. He didn't just inherit debt. He inherited consequences. Consequences for choices he didn't make. For missed payments he didn't know about. For loans he didn't understand he was tied to. And the worst part? No one believed him when he tried to explain. Landlords didn't care. Banks didn't care. Employers didn't care. All they saw was the report, the numbers, the history. And on paper, he looked like someone who couldn't be trusted. Someone irresponsible. Someone who made bad decisions and didn't follow through. But he hadn't made any decisions. That was the problem. Someone else had made them for him. And now he was the one paying the price. He called his parents that night. Not right away. He spent hours just sitting there, staring at his phone, rehearsing what he'd say, how he'd say it, trying to find a version of this conversation that didn't feel like an accusation. But there wasn't one. Because no matter how he framed it, the question was the same. What did you do? When he finally dialed, his hand was shaking. His mom picked up on the second ring. "Hey, sweetheart, how are you?" Her voice was warm, normal, like it was just another Saturday night call. It made everything worse. His voice didn't sound like his own when he spoke. Flat, distant, like he was reading from a script. "Can you explain this?" A pause. Explain what? He could hear it already, that slight shift in her tone, from casual to careful. "The loans," he said. "The 3 loans under my name. $48,000. Silence. Not the kind where someone's thinking of what to say. The kind where they already know, and they're deciding how much to admit. "Oh." Her voice got smaller. "You saw that." "Yeah, I saw that." Another pause. Then she said it. "Hold on. Let me get your father." The phone rustled. Muffled voices in the background. Then his dad's voice came through. Calm. Too calm. "Hey, son. Listen. Can you just explain?" he interrupted. "Please. I need to understand what happened." His dad sighed. That deep, tired sigh that usually comes before a long explanation. But the explanation wasn't long. It was just excuses. "We were going through a rough patch," his dad said. "Financially. We needed help with some bills. The business wasn't doing well. Your mom's medical expenses. So you took out loans in my name?" "We didn't take them out," his dad said, like the distinction mattered. "You co-signed. You were already on the applications for your student loans, and we just needed a little more help. We were going to handle it. We are handling it." "You're not handling it. It's past due. My credit is destroyed. We're working on it." "You're working on it?" "Dad, I can't get an apartment. I can't get approved for a car. I just lost a job offer because of this." His mom's voice cut in, softer now, pleading. "We were going to fix it, sweetheart. We just needed more time. You didn't need to know. We didn't want to worry you." "I didn't need to know," His voice cracked, not from sadness, from disbelief. I didn't need to know that my entire financial future was being destroyed? That my name was attached to loans I didn't even know existed? We're family, his mom said. Like that explained everything. Like it made it okay. That word, family. It landed differently now. It didn't feel protective. It didn't feel warm or safe or unconditional. It felt final, like a door closing, like a line drawn that couldn't be uncrossed. You should have told me, he said quietly. You should have asked. We didn't think, his dad started. No, you didn't think. Or you did, and you just didn't care. That's not fair, his mom said, her voice breaking now. We love you. We were trying to survive. Do you know how hard it's been? Do you know what we've been through? And maybe that was true. Maybe they had been struggling. Maybe they were desperate. But that didn't change what they'd done. That didn't change the fact that they'd used his name, his credit, his future, without asking, without telling him. And now he was the one dealing with the fallout. He realized something then, sitting there, phone pressed to his ear, listening to his parents justify what they'd done. Love doesn't cancel contracts. Trust doesn't erase liability. And signatures, those 5-second moments where you type your name and hit submit. They don't care about intentions. They don't care if you didn't understand what you were signing. They don't care if someone you trusted told you it was fine. The signature is binding. The debt is real. And the consequences? They're yours to carry, no matter who made the choices. The call ended quietly. No yelling, no slamming phones, just silence. His mom said they'd figure something out. His dad said they'd talk to the banks. But he didn't believe them. Not anymore. He hung up and sat in the dark, the weight of it settling in. This wasn't going away. Not quickly. Maybe not ever. And the people he thought would protect him? They were the ones who'd put him here. He's still paying it off. Not just the debt, though that's real enough. $48,000 doesn't disappear overnight. Even with payment plans, even with negotiation, it takes years. But that's not the only thing he's paying for. It's the apartment he couldn't get. The one with the big windows and the neighborhood he actually wanted to live in. It's the car he had to borrow money from a friend to buy. Used. Unreliable. Because no bank would finance him. It's the job he lost before he even started. The career path that got delayed because employers saw his credit report and made assumptions. Assumptions about who he was, about his responsibility, his judgment. None of it true. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. He rebuilt slowly, painfully. He got a secured credit card, made tiny purchases, paid them off immediately. Month after month, just to prove he could. He took a job that didn't run credit checks. Not the one he wanted, but the one he could get. He lived with roommates longer than he planned, saved aggressively, cut back on everything. It took 3 years before his credit score started to recover. 3 years before he could apply for an apartment without that sinking feeling in his stomach. 3 years before financial responsibility concerns stopped following him around like a shadow. But even now, even with the score improving, even with the debt slowly shrinking, he still feels it. Every time he signs something, he reads it. Every word, every clause. Every time someone says, "Just sign here," he stops. He asks questions. Because he knows now. He knows what a signature can cost. He shared his story for one reason. Not for sympathy, not for advice on what to do next, but so someone else might stop. Stop before signing. Stop before trusting without understanding. Stop before assuming that the people asking for your name on a document have your best interests at heart, even if they're family, especially if they're family. Because the most dangerous contracts? They're not the ones with banks or corporations or strangers. They're the ones you sign without understanding who really pays the price. The ones where someone you trust says, "Don't worry about it." The ones that seem small in the moment. A checkbox, a typed name, 5 seconds. But those 5 seconds, they can shape the next 10 years of your life. He learned that the hard way. And he's still learning it. Every month, when the payment comes out of his account. Every time he checks his credit report and sees how far he still has to go. Every time he thinks about what his life might have looked like if he'd just asked one question back when he was 18. What am I actually signing? So if you're reading this, or listening to this, and you're about to sign something, stop. Read it. Understand it. Ask questions. Even if it feels awkward. Even if someone you trust is telling you it's fine. Because once your name is on that paper, it's your responsibility. Not theirs. Yours. And no amount of love or trust or good intentions will change that. The signature is permanent. The consequences are real. And the price? You'll be the one paying it.